Okay, so I have a new Fusion project here, and I have it on Fusion mid-flow. Okay, so I'm going to press Control Space Bar, and we'll bring in a loader. Okay, loader, add. So the loader I found brings in footage faster than the median. So we're going to continue with this footage here. Okay, I'm just going to disconnect this for now. All right. And by pressing 1, it views it on this side, and pressing 2 views it on this side. Okay, whichever node I'm on. Okay, so I'm gonna start now with Control Spacebar, bring up my 3D merge 3D. Okay, so this is equivalent to like a scene, okay, a 3D scene, right? And then Control Spacebar, camera 3D, add. Okay, and then I'm going to import camera, import the camera that we exported earlier from Syntheyes, the Maya scene file, and press OK. So we have our camera here. Okay, so we're gonna need 2 cameras, one to view through our scene and then the other one to serve as a projection camera. So I'm going to Control C to copy, Control V to paste. So we have 2 cameras. Okay, I'm gonna immediately name this one here so I don't get confused. Rename. I'm gonna call this my projection camera. Okay, or cam. So my projection camera and my regular camera. And I can hook it up to my 3D scene here and hook this up to here. Okay, so I have 2 cameras. Now for this one, I'm going to unlock this, okay, so that I can later on do things here. So that's the first thing I got to do. The second thing is, in order to be a projection camera, I'm just going to reference it at the start of it, frame 0 here. And so my projection camera here, all the keyframes here, I'm going to hit Control and scroll the wheel mouse here. We can also hit on keyframes here to toggle that. And for all these keyframes here, I'm going to click, drag, and delete all those. So I only have my initial position here. If I go to transform, I should have those initial position, and it's no longer animated. So if I scroll this here, we don't see that change. But on my camera that I imported, you see that it's moving. Okay, and if I select my merge and press 1 on this side, we can see that there's 2 cameras here. All right, for this 3D view, if I hit shift and middle mouse button, I'm sorry, shift and right mouse button, then I can dolly. And then if I control scroll mouse, I can zoom in and out. It's a little bit awkward here. Okay, so we can see that I have 2 cameras, right? One camera, the one that's standing still, is a projection map camera, and then the one that's moving is the camera from Syntheyes that I just brought in. Okay, so we have 2 cameras linked up there. Now, the moment I connect this footage to here, you'll see that there's 3 tabs here, but when I connect this here, it becomes 6 tabs, and we have access to more. Now, whenever we connected our footage to here, there's this image plane. This just gives it a background plane here, but we don't want that, so I'm going to turn that off. What we want to do is go into the projection and make it a projection map. Okay, so now it's projecting, but it's looking for something to project, so we need to add in a mesh here. So I'm going to hit Control Spacebar, Mesh. Okay, we're going to go to Fbox. Okay, click Add. And earlier we exported the wall, so we're going to use this as a reference to where our location for our wall is. And if I connect that to here, we can see that the wall should be somewhere here. Let's see, where is it at? Let's see. What am I missing? If I press 1 here, then press F here, I can zoom in on the wall. So that's my wall there, okay? So that's the F box here. All right. Now what I'm going to also do is hit Control Shift and bring in my 3D shape. My shape 3D, okay? And this one will serve as our plane where we're going to project our image onto it, okay? So if I that's our plane here, I'm going to scale it up. Oh, let me bring that in there. Okay, and I'm going to try to match that up with the wall here, that wall geometry. So if I go to transform, right now it's scaling uniformly. So if I unlock this, I get X, Y, Z, and I'm going to try to match the wall as much as possible to the size. It's a little bit awkward navigating in 3D space here with Fusion. Okay, we can also, if we go to click here, we can get 4 viewport spaces, and so we could, if you want to align it top, front, bottom, just like in 3D space here, that may or may not help you. So that's a top view there. I'm just going to approximate it for now. We don't have to get it perfect. Just for demonstrational purposes only. Okay. Okay, so rough like that. And then at this point, I'm just going to temporarily disconnect my F box mesh. So double click on that, and so I just have my plane here. So if I add in a render, so I'm gonna hit Control Space Bar and hit Render. Okay, so this is like our renderer, like a Cycles or Eevee or Arnold renderer. Okay, and if I press 1 here, we should see our plane get projected here. Now, right now, let's see. Okay, so that's our plane here. Let's try to get it projected this onto here. So, okay, so why don't we see the house on here? Let me see here. Import, it's some type of material here. See our shape 3D, material, lighting. Okay, we press on the render here, go to, click on lighting here, enable, and so we should see it here. And when we press play, the issue is it's playing this whole sequence here. So I'm going to hit Control Space Bar and type in time speed, just so we get first frame here, just so that it's frame 0 and it doesn't move. Click on there, click on, connect that, and under speed here, change it to 0. Okay, so it should be only 1 frame. Okay. All right. Projection, merge Merge 3D. Okay, and let's see here, what else do we default? We want to view through the camera. Okay, so there it is. It should be projected there. Okay, and so now what we can do is I'm just going to copy this footage here, Control V, Control C there, and we can merge it to this. So just get a normal merge now, not a merge 3D, but a normal merge, because we're merging this 2D here. So I'm going to connect this to here, this to here, and we should have it projected. Now, it's going to be off right now because if we hover over to here, we'll see that it has to match the size. So it's 1920 by 1080. And if you see, the pixel aspect is 1.2 to 1.2. So we have to match that. So under here, under render 3D, make sure that it's matching. So 1920 by 1080, that matches, but the pixel aspect doesn't. So I'm going to unclick this and change this to 1.2 and 1.2 here. And we see that it matches here now. See, so it's being projected on to our building. Now, how do we know that it's projected? If I can, if I add in a, say for instance, a color corrector here, click on add here, and if I change a color, you can see that it's green. Okay, so now we're free to do anything we want to this. We can add a paint node and say erase this right here. So I'm just going to demonstrate that a little bit. I'm going to hit reset on this color here just to reset the color, but I'll leave it there just in case I want to do some color correction later on to it. But for this, at frame 0, I'm going to go back to this frame here, select this and hit Control space bar, do my paint node here. Okay, click on add. So I have a paint node here. I'm going to hit Control, scroll, zoom in, and let's paint out this right here. So clone multi-stroke, and you see that there's an X in here. If I hit Alt, I can sample, say like here, it's like the clone stamp. And if I click Alt, click, it's sampling that, and I can just click down here, see, and erase that. Click sample that. So I'm just going to do a rough paint out here. Oh, there's one thing I forgot, stroke duration. If we forget to set this before we do it, it's only going to last for 1 frame. So I'm going to undo this, or redo. But before it's kind of tricky here. We have to click on multi-stroke, and when we click on that, we have to set this to your duration. Here I have 115 frames, but I'm just going to click on 200 just to overkill it. And then hit Alt, click on that, and start to paint away. Okay, so this becomes kind of like Photoshop. Now there's more elegant ways to do this. You can bring this whole entire frame in Photoshop, right, and click and paint away. Oh, I forgot to go back to frame 0. Hi, let me reset this. Click on this and click on 200 here. All right, so remember, you have to be at frame 0. Okay. What am I? Stroke multi. Okay, let me test that out there. Okay, it's going along. All right. Okay, why is it not sampling? Am I on my paint node here? Okay, I'm going to paint this out. I'm going to pause a little bit and I'll record when I've finished. Okay, not the best paint job here. Obviously, probably want to bring it into Photoshop. It's not enough sampling areas here, but we just clone it until it's right. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. It's just for demonstrational purposes only. So now if we go back to say one here, if we play this, you'll see that it's painted out and it's being projected back to our plane. Okay. We might have some the plane here, our geometry is sticking up here is because we probably should have maybe done it on the middle frame instead of the beginning frame so that as it goes uh, towards the front and towards the end, um, it doesn't get warped too much or the placement doesn't get offset too much. Or in this case, we can also maybe choose our shape here and make it smaller, or we can roto it out either way. Transform here. Let's just make it smaller. So you can see that it's getting smaller there. See? So just enough to cover a window. We should have aligned it with the wall here, but that's a plain alignment problem. Okay. And it's also because the wall is different than the ladder, so we might need to scale it in sideways here so it doesn't hit the ladder. See? Okay. So it's just at the door, so I can test that out here. Okay, so that's where my plane is. Okay, and so you see that it's not interfering with the ladder, but it's being projected on the door. So depending on what you want to erase, that's where you're going to put your plane. And I also did some fun stuff. Like I used stable diffusion to create, using control net to do some of these here. With the same perspective as a clean plate. So I'm just going to drag in a few here and show you what we can do as a reference. So for instance, if I drag in this here, I'll disconnect this. I still want my speed, but if I have that, you see that we can replace this here. Let me go next. Obviously not that much, but and so on and so forth. So you can see the power of projection. We might need to rotoscope that back in up here. Okay. We already did some rotoscoping in class, so you guys already know how to do that. I'm not going to demonstrate that here. This is just for projection. You can see that we got some floor here. So if we had a ground plane for the floor, you can project it onto the floor too. Okay. So you start to see the power projection map once you get used to it. Okay. Okay. That's it for this projection.